Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. You know, every day on the John Campea Show in the mornings, our main movie news show, we save a few minutes to talk live questions. But here on the Open Mic Show, all we do is take your live questions. So that's what we're going to do today. Whole bunch of stuff to get to. So let's not waste any time and dive right into it. And the first question today, or comment today, comes to us from ZOMG Ruler, who writes, I didn't like Solo, but shocked it opened so low. I did like Solo, and I'm not shocked. I mean, I'm a little surprised that it opened, at around 83, but you guys know, I've been saying this whole time, I have a hard time believing it was going to get much over 100 million. Even when the reports of like 150 and all that kind of stuff came out, I'm like, okay, like maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. And I've been saying that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So a little surprised, as low as 83, but not all that shocked, to be honest with you. And I really liked the movie. Like, I thought the movie was quite fun. But yeah, we just have to, it's just not that shocked. 31 Kings writes, I personally believe Disney dropped the ball on Kylo Ren. He's a good villain, but don't you think he could be so much more? I don't know. Like, I sort of feel the same way you do, in a sense. Like, I like the Kylo Ren character. I've always liked him from the first movie. Could they do more with him? Yeah, I'll agree that they could probably do more. But now you're talking about taking a character from, a 91 to a 95 or something like that. Like, I actually think the Kylo Ren character is quite good. I like the Kylo Ren character. That's just my opinion. I like the character a lot. But yeah, if you listen to my other reviews, I think there are probably some things they could have done to even make him even better. But, I mean, not enough for me to complain about. I like the character. I like that he's different. I like that he seems very consistent with his own characters. I like him, but I agree with you. They probably could have done some stuff to make him a little bit better. Dim Sum 05 writes, what do you think of the movie Draft Day? Oh, the one with Kevin Costner and Jennifer Garner. I like that movie, actually. It's funny, Kevin Costner has done a couple of these smaller kind of sports-themed movies, Draft Day, McFarlane USA, things like that. They're actually pretty good, and I like Draft Day. And I like, the idea is, it gives you a little bit more of a behind-the-scenes of, like, the inner workings of the NFL and stuff like that. I actually thought it was a really good movie. Not, top 10 of the year, not top 20 of the year, but I thought it was a quite enjoyable film. And another reason why I like Kevin Costner so much. ZOMG Ruler writes, do you think the DCEU is the most defended and panned franchise? Yeah, probably. Probably both. And probably they are in response to each other. Like, it's really panned, and thus the fans of it feel all the more need to defend it. So you probably making it the most defended and the most panned franchise out there right now. I can't really think of anything else that is as, passionately attacked and strongly defended as that. But, I mean, we'll see if Star Wars joins that conversation anytime soon. Let's see. Zombatron writes, you say at some point Spider-Man should just throw away the MCU suit as he doesn't need it. But wasn't that the point of Homecoming? He didn't need it. Well, that's kind of the thing. What they do in Infinity War kind of backtracks on the ending of Homecoming. Like, him realized it doesn't need the Iron Spider suit. He doesn't need the Iron Spider suit. He's Spider-Man. He walked away without it. And then they get into Infinity War. It's like, well, we need to sell Spider-Man toys, so we need to make him look different. Let's put in this ridiculous Iron Man Jr. suit. And they wrote it up in such a way to create these ridiculous situations that necessitated him having the Iron Man Jr. suit. I do not like the Iron Man Jr. suit. I've said that from the beginning. Still love the Spider-Man character. Still love the way they portray him and all that kind of stuff. It frustrates me that they use the Iron Man Jr. suit with him. Let's see here. Josh Creighton writes, thoughts on Selena with Jennifer Lopez? I have no idea what we're talking about, so I have no thoughts. Murray writes, I became a Patreon supporter 2 months ago because I enjoy your content a lot and I appreciate all the work you do. How do I get notified of new content on the Patreon page? For example, Star Wars Talk. Well, Star Wars Talk is going to be, and that's the first episode of Star Wars Talk, the new incarnation of Star Wars Talk, goes up tomorrow. And it will be going up on the Facebook page. So on the Patreon supporter Facebook page is where Star Wars Talk is going to be. Now, some people have been asking me about this, and I'll address this now. Some people who haven't been keeping up to date on everything going on saying, John, why are you moving Star Wars Talk from YouTube to the Facebook group? And I'm not. What I did was I decided to cancel Star Wars Talk because I've just had it with the toxic, cancerous dregs that are out there, that anytime there's a Star Wars topic, decide that they all need to fly in like locusts and attack everything. So I just, you know what, you killed my love of the online Star Wars fandom, so I'm just canceling Star Wars Talk. So after I canceled Star Wars Talk, I had some people who are Patreon supporters saying, hey, if that's the concern, why don't we just do Star Wars Talk as a Patreon only show? And that way we don't have to worry about it. And I said, you know what? That's not a bad idea. So I did not move Star Wars Talk from YouTube to the exclusive Facebook group. What I did was I canceled it and then got talked into starting it up again, but only this time over on the Facebook group. So that will be on the Facebook group. If you are a Patreon supporter, Murray, you're going to have no problem. You'll see it in the Facebook group every week. That's where it's going to be going up. But you'll probably get a notification in Patreon as well that new episodes have been posted. All right. Ben Rayner writes, what day will Star Wars Talk be on Facebook? Sunday or back to Tuesday? We're going to go back to Tuesday. So, and we'll play around with it. That's the nice thing about being in charge, is that we can move it to wherever we want. So we're going to start doing it on Tuesdays. If it doesn't work well on Tuesday for people, then maybe we'll move it to another day. We can move it to any day we want. There's no hard and fast rules here. So yeah, we're going to start tomorrow with it being on Tuesdays. Josh Creighton writes, earlier today, you chuckled when I mentioned Never Give You Up by Rick Astley from the 80s. My question is, do you have a dirty secret to tell everybody? Nope. No, honestly don't. I have been, like many people on YouTube, been rickrolled several times. But no dirty secret. But it was a funny message. I did like the message you sent. All right. Thunder Knight 19 writes, who's the better driver, you or Anne? Oh, I'm the better driver. Anne is much, much better than me at many, many things. But I am the better driver. But I'll never tell her that. But I'm the better driver. Zombitron 5678 writes, wanted to thank you for being the only YouTuber to not spoil the surprise in Solo. All I saw was a title and got spoiled, and that was just on Saturday. Yeah, that's too bad. I do not understand. I mean, I get it, trying to, look, you make your titles are marketing tools for your videos. You want to make titles and make videos that get views. I get that, completely do. But, like, when the price tag is, I need to make a title that gives away a major surprise in a film, at that point, you should probably reconsider. So, I am sorry, Zombatron, that happened to you. Yeah, that really sucks. Especially if it's the surprise that I'm thinking of. That really sucks that somebody was idiotic enough to make a video about it on Saturday and put in the title. That's just ridiculous. Josh Creighton writes, can't wait till Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom comes out. Give me Dino 3 times because of how many I'm planning on seeing it. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I can't remember what day it opens. It opens in late June. I get to go see it on June 5th. So not tomorrow, but next Tuesday. I'm going to go see it. And that's when the review embargo lifts as well. So I'm going to see it on the morning of next Tuesday. Then I'm going to run back here, and I'm going to see it in the morning. Then I'm going to run back here and do my review and put my review up for it. So I'm getting more excited from it just because they held those public screenings in Spain. And the audience reactions from those public screenings seem to be really good. That's nice. The fact that they're lifting the embargo so early, that's nice. The fact that they're showing it to us so early, that's nice. So all these things are positive. It doesn't mean the movie's going to be any good. It doesn't mean the movie's going to be good, but there are positive signs. So I'm getting kind of excited about it, to be honest with you. All right. Murray writes, where are we? Murray writes, have you seen the Arrow finale? Like other seasons where they wrapped up the finale of a villain, I'm disappointed that the Diaz storyline didn't end. Yeah, I didn't think it was a fantastic season finale, although it wasn't bad. And I agree with you. I'm not going to go into anything in depth in case you guys don't watch it, but like the way they didn't wrap up the Diaz storyline was frustrating. That was frustrating for me as a viewer. It was very, very frustrating. And it kind of made me feel like, why did I bother watching? If you're just going to end the season like this, what was the point of everything? What was the point of watching this season? I felt like the ending was a cop-out. And that's frustrating because there's another CW show, Supernatural, which I've been talking about this lately. Supernatural, one of the things they do great is their season finales, and they've done like 13 season finales now, but their season finales always wrap up the story of the season. They wrap it up so you as an audience member feel that satisfaction. You've come to the conclusion of that story. And then they open the door for what the next season's going to be about. And they do both of those in their season finales, which is great. The Arrow finale was frustrating. And what makes it more frustrating is the fact that Arrow's been getting me back on board. Is the fact that Arrow has been getting better. And I'm slowly starting to come back around on Arrow because I've disliked Arrow ever since season 3. Loved season 1 and 2. Absolutely loved season 1 and 2. Season 3 lost me. I've kept watching it. It's never gotten me back. And this season, it's starting to do some things right. And I feel like I'm getting back on board with it. And then they kind of deliver a little bit of a lackluster season finale. Again, not a bad season finale. I'm just with you on that, Murray, that I think the way they handled the Diaz wrap-up or lack thereof was disappointing. It was disappointing and felt very unsatisfying as an audience member. All right. ZMG Ruler writes, have you ever watched Steven Universe? Nope, never have. I think I've heard of it, but I've definitely never watched it. Patrick Conway writes, Solo was awesome. My second favorite Star Wars film. Wow. I like Solo. I would put it as my number 6 Star Wars movie. And here's how I would rank them. Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars A New Hope, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, Solo. And then after Solo would be The Last Jedi. And then after The Last Jedi, you drop down a bunch and you get into prequels and the Clone Wars movie and stuff like that. Yeah, but for me, Solo's my number 6. I had a very good time with it. And I'm glad you enjoyed it so much that you saw it again. Apparently, not a whole ton of people went to go see it multiple times over the weekend because it only made $83 million when we talked all about that this morning. Murray writes, Stanley Cup Finals prediction. Washington in 6. Unless Marc-Andre Fleury, who is the goaltender of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, if Marc-Andre Fleury stands on his head like he's capable of, that changes things. You can't win if the other team's goalie doesn't let any pucks go in the net. If the other team's goalie just refuses to let any pucks in the net, it's hard for you to win. And Marc-Andre Fleury is capable of pulling out a result like that. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I'm going to predict, my first prediction right now is Washington in 6. I'm rooting for the Las Vegas Golden Knights, but I'm going to guess Washington in 6. All right. Donaldo Martinez writes, could Mile 22 be an open door for Iko Uwais to have more leading roles in Western audiences, which is one of the things that got a bunch of people interested, was that he's in this film. It's possible. It depends on well he can be used. I'm also completely in the dark on how good his English is. I'm completely in the dark on that. So, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. Clearly, this is a nice vehicle to use him in. And after seeing the trailer, I'm a little bit more interested in this movie than I was before. I thought it was a pretty interesting trailer. So it's possible, but it all depends on how well he's used. I mean, the movie could be bad. If he's a standout, then that could open some doors. If the movie's good, but he's really not featured all that much, he doesn't have a lot of speaking lines, like he's got 6 or 7 speaking lines, then it really won't do much. So it really all depends on how good the movie is and how well they use the character. And until we see the film, it's impossible to guess at this point. Clock Penalty writes, which of these is better for movies? Negative harmful message plus good story versus positive moral message plus bad story. The answer is neither. The answer is neither. Neither is better for movies. It's just whatever it makes the better, whichever movie is better. You can make a great movie, that's one, and you can make a great movie, that's the other. Everybody, I've been having this discussion with people a lot lately that I just disagree with. People think that's the formula. You got to find the right formula. And that's what makes a movie good bet. And I disagree. My argument is you can use almost any formula in the world. If you execute it right, it can still work. I mean, if you can make a movie about plastic building blocks, the Lego, which is one of the stupidest ideas for a movie of all time, if you can take that and make it a great, fun, entertaining, financially successful movie like they did, then anything can work. That's why I'm always talking about Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone. I mean, you can make a movie about a sentient dancing microphone. Sounds like a stupid formula, but if you pull it off, it can work. So I really don't think there's either has an advantage over the other, to be completely honest with you. Let's see. John K. writes, clearly Solo would have done better if it wasn't for Disney Studio meddling. What? Clearly ruined Lord and Miller's original vision. Need to release the Lord and Miller cut. What? First of all, Disney didn't meddle. They left it all up to Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm was completely in control of their own movie. Secondly, and this is important to understand, this movie was never Lord Miller's vision. It was Lawrence Kasdan's vision. The guy who wrote Empire Strikes Back. He wrote Solo with his son, actually. The guy who wrote Empire Strikes Back wrote it. They had their vision for the movie, and Lord and Miller said they were on board, and then Lord and Miller started making a different movie. I love Lord and Miller. You guys have seen me talk to Lord and Miller. I'm a huge fan of Lord and Miller. But they started making the movie that they did not agree to make. They came in, they said they were on board with the vision, they said they were on board with the script, they all had a common understanding about what the movie was they were going to make, and then Lord and Miller started to make a different movie. That went against what Lawrence Kasdan, the screenwriter of Empire Strikes Back, had in mind. And that's why they got booted off the project. So there is no such thing as Lord and Miller's original vision. This wasn't their movie. It was Lawrence Kasdan's movie. He wrote it. Everybody approved it. Lord Miller came in and said, we get the vision. We're going to make this. We're going to bring this to life. We're going to make this the best possible version of this vision that we can. It was never their vision in the first place. And then they got fired off the movie because they went off and started deviating from what they agreed to do. And then Lucasfilm, and it's Lucasfilm's movie. It wasn't Lord Miller's movie. Lucasfilm stepped in and said, you're ruining Lawrence Kasdan was pissed. Like Lawrence Kasdan, he's one of the main things that got Lord Miller kicked off. And who's going to argue with the guy who wrote Empire Strikes Back? And that's what got them. So don't misunderstand the situation. That Solo was never Lord Miller's. Plus, the movie's good. Solo is a good movie. It's not an all-time great, but it's a good movie. And all the things that aligned against Solo, nobody wanted a Solo movie without Harrison Ford. A bunch of people didn't like The Last Jedi. The fact that it was opening on just Deadpool's first week after it released. The fact that, they moved it from there. All those things, none of that changes if Lord and Miller were still the directors. So don't be naive in thinking if Lord and Miller had directed it, it would have done any better. It also may not have done any worse, but don't think for a second it would have done any better. Let's see. Dakota Barber writes, best movie theater experience. For me, first of all, I'll finish reading that. For me, it's Infinity War. Haven't been in a crowd that energetic / reactionary since Return of the King. I keep getting asked the same question all the time. What's your favorite movie experience? It's the first screening I ever saw of Avengers. I've never been in an audience that was that rambunctious. And it was all these jaded, cynical movie critics. And everybody was bouncing off the walls. And I remember coming out of the theater, everybody's like, oh my God, nobody could believe what they just watched. It was insane. So yeah, that's probably my favorite movie going experience. John K. writes, in seriousness though, could Solo make Disney reconsider Obi-Wan and Boba Fett? Similar to Solo, no one is really asking for Boba Fett, lots asking for Obi-Wan. It's possible. Yeah, this could make them reconsider a Boba Fett movie. Now, like I said, I'm not really interested in a Boba Fett movie. What made me interested was you brought Mangold, the director of Logan. You bringing on the director of Logan on to direct this? Okay, you got my interest. I'm interested. But take that out of it and just look at Boba Fett. I have never been interested in a Boba Fett movie. Even back in the day when they said Josh Trank was going to be directing it, I was like, okay, it's Star Wars. I'll be there. I'll be there opening day to watch it. But I don't want I don't want an in-depth movie on Boba Fett. The dude that has like 5 speaking lines in all of the original trilogy. This character that is cool because he's shrouded in mystery. I don't want an entire movie on him. He's cool because he's mysterious. Just leave it. But when they said that that James Mangold was going to be the director of it, then okay, you got me at least a little intrigued. I'd probably be more intrigued if you took James Mangold and put him on another property. Look, I'm not saying this will make Disney reconsider these individual prequel kind of movies, but it may. Like, they may look at what's just happened with Solo and go, okay, wait a minute. We've been hearing people say all year that no one asked for an Obi-Wan movie. Turns out they really didn't. Then maybe we need to pump the brakes on Boba Fett. Maybe we need to pump the brakes on Obi-Wan. Maybe we need to turn our attention to expanding the Star Wars universe instead of contracting it. Maybe it will. I don't know for sure, but it might. And I think they definitely at least need to have some conversations about it. I think they definitely have to have some conversations about it. Let's see. Adamus95 writes, had the opportunity to meet Tom Ellis. For those of you who know who Tom Ellis is, he's the actor who plays Lucifer in the now canceled, unfortunately, awesome television show Lucifer. At London Comic Con. What a nice guy. Also got Play Arts, Kai Deadpool, and it's awesome. Highly recommended, dude. Well, yeah, and again, for those of you who are fans, like me, of the show Lucifer, they are going to be airing 2 as of yet unaired episodes. I believe it's on May 28th. So that's going to be in like 2 days. So I believe on Wednesday night, they're going to air the 2 episodes back to back. So make sure you tune in and watch it. Show other networks that there's a lot of interest in this show and that another network should pick it up. So let's support that. If you don't like the show, don't watch it. But I mean, if you do like the show and you're a fan, make sure you tune in and support it. Let's see here. Old flicks. Oh, wait a second. We had a little bit of a jump. Sorry, I missed that. Still going back. Okay, here we go. Nicholas Glenn writes, what do you think is the percentage of people not happy with The Last Jedi skipping Solo? How big of a part do you think they played? A significant part? No, not a significant part. A tangible part. Like, that's why I said, always said, like, hey, look, out of the main reasons, that's one of them. I've always said the main reasons is, number one, no one asked for a Harrison Ford less Han Solo movie. Number 2, there's a bunch of people who didn't like The Last Jedi. That was going to hurt it. Number 3 and number 4, but that's definitely a part of it. I don't know. I'd say it's probably about 20% of it. Because remember, I was saying even before The Last Jedi hit theaters and before people reacted to The Last Jedi, just go back and watch the old video. I was saying, Solo is not going to be $1 billion movie, folks. Solo is not going to be $1 billion. I've been saying this forever before The Last Jedi reactions came out and all that kind of stuff. So even before that, that's how I felt. So is it a tangible part of the reason? Absolutely is. I've been saying all along that it would be. Is it a major part of it? No, I don't think it's a major part of it. I think it has as much to do, but no more, than the fact that nobody was interested in a Harrison Ford less Han Solo movie. The fact that it's opening on a major blockbuster film's second weekend. I think all these things have equal parts in it. So it's a very tangible part of it, but it's not the major part of it. I don't think there's any one major reason. Even the other ones, I don't think are major reasons. I think it's a collection of all of these tangible reasons come together to make one big overwhelming problem. Let's see. Nicholas Glenn writes, what do you think? Do you think this is the beginning of the end for Kathleen Kennedy? It's hard to say, because here's the thing. What has Kathleen Kennedy done so far for Disney? If I'm Bob Iger and I'm looking at what Kathleen Kennedy has done, what has she done? Produced $3 billion films in a row, something that even Kevin Feige hasn't done yet. Kevin Feige hasn't put out $3 billion films in a row. Kathleen Kennedy did. One of them was a $2 billion film. And one of them never should have hit $1 billion, but it did, and that was Rogue One. Rogue One should never have hit it should have been a successful big hit movie. Never should have hit $1 billion. And it did. We talked about this earlier today on my show, but I'll repeat it. The one concern I have about Kathleen Kennedy as an executive, and I've been saying this all along, is the fact that I believe her primary job is to put the right directors in place and make sure those directors clearly understand Lucasfilm's vision and Lucasfilm clearly understands their vision and they're all on the same page and this is the right fit. Go. To me, that is the most important thing Kathleen Kennedy has to do, is putting the right directors in place with the right projects, making sure everybody's shared vision is in line and blah, 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 blah. And what have we seen happen? Time after time after time after time, director drama. Directors being fired. Directors being fired after 80% of a movie's being shot. Pulling, like a Colin Trevorrow off one film, replacing him with J.J. Abrams. Firing Josh Trank off that. Doing this, doing that. The alleged, drama that went on behind the scenes between Lucasfilm and with Rogue One. I mean, we've seen too many times and too many examples of Kathleen Kennedy announcing and hiring on a director when they are not on the same page and they don't understand where each other's coming from and they eventually have to fire them. That has been, despite the $1 billion success after $1 billion success after $1 billion success, despite all of that, that to me is her most important job. And her track record right now, and look, Steven Spielberg says she's the most gifted producer he's ever worked with, and he's the greatest filmmaker of all time. So give her her due. I am a Kathleen Kennedy fan. However, her track record, when it comes to the most important part of her job, in my opinion at any rate, is not so good. Is not so good. And that's got to be addressed. Now, it seems like she's been trying to address it by, once they got rid of Lord Miller, they went with a very tried and true, stable, solid, high quality director in Ron Howard. Okay. Then instead of rolling the dice and getting too risky with episode 9, they went back to what worked and they got J.J. Abrams to come back in. Okay, that's fine. But I'm still a little iffy on her ability to bring in the right directors at the right time to making sure everybody's on the same page, because so far her track record's not great. And that's the part that concerns me as an executive. So we'll have to see. But as far as this being the beginning of the end, I doubt it. I mean, like I said, Bob Iger is all about money. You put out 3 films in a row that all cross the $1 billion mark. One of them doesn't. I will say this, though. It puts Kathleen Kennedy on shaky ground when it comes to episode 9. Episode 9, I mean, it has to be a $1 billion film. It has to be. Episode 9 must be minimum a $1 billion film. No ways around it. If episode 9 doesn't cross $1 billion, she's in trouble. She's in trouble. There's no way around it. She's in trouble. Right now, I think she's okay for another year. Or another year and a half till episode 9 comes out. But after that, it's all bets are off. If episode 9 falls short of $1 billion, then she could be in trouble. If it crosses $1 billion, well, that'll be 4 out of 5 films that she produces that all make $1 billion. Then she's probably secure again. But she's got to get better at getting her directors in place and getting directors in place that she's on the same page with and they are on the same page with her. And episode 9 has to succeed. It has to at minimum join the $1 billion club. Anything short of that, and that could be a problem. But don't expect to see Kathleen Kennedy go anywhere between now and December of 2019. Bob Iger is not a knee-jerk reactionist. Bob Iger is going to see this through. He's going to let Kathleen Kennedy run this until episode 9, and then let's see what happens with episode 9. That's my guess. Now, we may find out tomorrow that Kathleen Kennedy's stepping down. Okay, fine, that might happen. But my guess right now is that Bob Iger's not going to press the issue and that we're going to wait until December 2019. And then we'll see where we're at. Elvin Rivera writes, Kevin Spacey and Morgan Freeman asked to be interviewed by you. What's your response? Absolutely, as long as we can talk about everything. If we can talk about everything, absolutely. Now, but please let's make sure we separate Kevin Spacey from Morgan Freeman, because what each of them are being allegedly accused of are totally different things. What Kevin Spacey's been accused of is far more harsh and worse than what Morgan Freeman is. Doesn't make what Morgan Freeman's being accused of okay, not at all. But I'd hesitate to put those two in the same category. It's a little bit unfair to Morgan Freeman. But yeah, if either of them wanted to be interviewed by me, are you kidding? People would kill to have that. I would do that interview in a minute. As long as they're open to me asking them about anything, then yeah, I'd be totally down for that. Absolutely. Everybody would. Any journalist would. Absolutely. Third Man 3 writes, trolls think Disney is behind every story. Disney didn't reveal high box office numbers. Rian Johnson is not Disney. Jonathan Kardashian isn't Disney. These people make it seem like headline that is Disney behind. Well, I mean, there's some yes and no a little bit. I mean, first of all, yes, Disney did not release the high box office projections. That's not Disney. Disney confirmed their own numbers after the industry put out their projections. Fandango, like some people saying, well, whatever happened to Solo selling double the tickets of Black Panther? Well, it's like when the story came out, and I cautioned everybody, just because the story was it sold more than double the amount of advanced tickets in the first 24 hours that Black Panther did. And that report did not come from Disney. That came from Fandango. That was Fandango releasing their official numbers. That didn't come from Disney. That came from Fandango. And I try to warn everybody when those numbers come, hey, that doesn't mean it's going to open to the same number Black Panther did. It doesn't mean it's going to sell as many tickets before the movie opens. It just means in the first 24 hours, more people were anxious to buy the tickets on day one than other movies had been. That's all it meant, but it was only for one 24-hour period. A lot of people like Jonathan Kardashian, or Kasdan, who was not speaking on behalf of Disney. When asked about Lando being transsexual, he said, to me, he is. But people say, Disney's now confirming that Lando's transsexual. Disney never said that. A writer who worked on one of the scripts didn't even say it was official. He just said, to me, he's this. But it wasn't Disney that said it. But at the same time, you know, Disney, it is Disney's property, and they got to keep a reel on these things like that. So you're right, there are some people, but it's not just trolls, it's common media misunderstanding. It's not just trolls, it's everybody. You know, we see a headline, we associate it a certain way, and it's kind of understandable. So I don't think there's some big anti-Disney conspiracy here. Not on that level, at least at any rate. Rabid Jawa writes, what does the total domestic box office need to be on episode 9 for it to be considered a failure? Also, what is your Solo domestic box office prediction? I'm not quite sure about domestic. Really, the important number when it comes to the final tally is worldwide. That's the important number. So, for example, if Solo makes 900 million worldwide, it doesn't matter what the domestic total is. The domestic total could be $18. Won't matter to Disney. If they made 900 million worldwide, which they are not, but I'm just saying, if they made 900 million worldwide, it doesn't matter to them if it makes $18 domestically or 800 million domestically. It won't matter to them. So really the question is worldwide. What does a domestic box office total need to be in episode 9 for it to be considered failure? Well, let's talk worldwide. If episode 9 comes in anything under $1 billion, anything under $1 billion, you have to consider a failure. And that seems ridiculous because making under $1 billion is not a failure. But if you're Star Wars episode 9, yeah, short of $1 billion, it's going to be a failure. I mean, look, they can make $900 million and be rolling in cash. At that point, the movie makes them hundreds of millions of dollars in profit. Great. But for the longevity and the health of the franchise, you got to show that people are still coming out and you can attract people into the studio or into the theaters with a Star Wars episodic movie. You fall short of $1 billion on that? Not good. Not good. As far as Solo domestic, or forget domestic, just worldwide, look, some people are saying the film needs to make about $400 million to break even. That is not true. Remember, this film went in for extensive reshoots. Like almost 80% of the movie was reshot. What was going to be like a $170 million budget film is really now closer to a $300 million film. That means Solo doesn't need to make $400 million to break even. This thing needs to make $650 million to break even, just like Justice League. Because just like Justice League, that had to go back, massively reshoot, which massively inflated their shooting production costs way out of control, that meant the number for breaking even ended up around the $650 million mark. Solo's got to make that to break even, and I don't think they will. I'm not after looking at these numbers. I think it'll have okay legs, but even okay legs is not going to get it there. I do not think it's going to break even. This movie isn't going to break even. So that's just my thought right now. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I could be totally wrong about that, but I don't see it breaking even. Not needing to make $650 million. I just don't see it happening, which is too bad. Because it's a good movie. It's a good movie, but they need to learn some lessons here. Let's see here. Rick Keir writes, do you think they will push up Avengers 4 a week? 2 or no? That was just one timing thing for Infinity War. I doubt it. I don't know. I doubt it. They had their own reasons for doing it once. It's not like there's, that's the magic formula. At the last minute, move a movie ahead by a week. That makes it, no, they had their own reasons for doing it. I think they wanted to give it a little bit more distance from Deadpool 2, which was a good move. I don't see why they would do it again. If they do, they do, but I wouldn't predict that they're going to do it. Third Man 3 writes, can you imagine if social media was like this back in the prequel era? It would be much worse than it is right now. Trolls hate ideas they don't like. Well, trolls do hate ideas they don't like, but a lot of people making this excuse. Here's the thing. One of the points I've been making is in the prequel era, you had fans divided over whether or not they liked the prequels. I don't like the prequels at all. But the fans weren't divided. See, fans were divided over whether or not they liked the prequels, but the fandom itself wasn't divided. Yes, you had the odd person who's saying, if you don't like the prequels, you're not a real fan. And you had the odd person going, if you like the prequels, and you're stupid. You had a little bit of that. But for the most part, the attitude of Star Wars fans in the prequel era was, hey, we're all Star Wars fans. We like these prequels. You don't like these prequels, but we're all Star Wars fans. Yay! From people like my point of view, who I hated the prequels, it's like, hey, I hate the prequels, and I'll tell you all day about why I don't like them, but if you like them, great. If you like them, that's perfectly fine. I'll make a joke and go, friends don't let friends watch the prequels. Like, I'll make a joke about it, but for the most part, the attitude for most people was, hey, we like the prequels. You don't? No? Okay, that's fine. We hate the prequels. You like them? Oh, well, hey, if you like them, that's great. I mean, that just seemed to be the attitude. And it just seemed like everybody was divided over whether or not they liked these particular sets of movies, but united as a fandom. You didn't see fans attacking each other for liking or disliking what they liked or disliked. You didn't see that nearly as much. And some people are trying to make excuses. Well, that's only because social media wasn't around. No, I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. I really, because I've been around a lot of Star Wars fans, and the toxicity that's going on today is very much prevalent, even just not in social media. It's everywhere. Back in the prequel era, Star Wars fans were just better. Star Wars fans were better than they are now. It's just that is. Now, if you like a movie that somebody else doesn't like, then, some people are so pathetic and weak that they can't handle the notion like, that invalidates my opinion. Somebody likes a movie I hate, that invalidates my opinion. I've got to attack that person. See, they got paid to put up these things. They're a shill, or whatever the popular term is, right? And then you get all these little clone wannabes come along, just repeat what they say. The fandom back in the prequel era was way better than it is. It's very, very sad to see what it is today, which is why I canceled my Star Wars talk show. Not because I lost my love of Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but I completely lost my love of the Star Wars fandom. When you see how much cancer and toxicity and racism and homophobia and sexism and all that kind of stuff that's just out there now. And now you've got this new generation of quote unquote Star Wars fans that define themselves by what they hate instead of defining themselves by what they love. And it's just sad. Like, I hate the prequels, but I don't define myself by my hatred of the prequels. And I don't attack other people who do like the prequels. You know, I don't go, oh, you like the prequels? You're just a wannabe George Lucas dick-sucking blah, blah, blah. Like, no. If you like the prequels, that's awesome. I don't, which is fine. But it's become such an awful, awful, miserable place that I just lost any love about engaging on it, engaging in Star Wars discussion online much, because you just get this toxic bunch of cancerous losers that define themselves by what they hate. They're completely insecure, so they have to attack anybody that proposes a way of looking at things that they don't agree with, and whatever, and over a movie. So, I really don't think it's not the thing of social media. Social media has become the vehicle by which these cancerous trolls can spread their stuff, but it's just the vehicle. You know what I mean? At least that's the way I look at it at this point. I just think the Star Wars fandom was way better in the prequel era. I just did. Matt Thornton writes, I just saw Solo and I really enjoyed it. I can't help but wonder what we'll see in the future from Kira, that other character at the end. Well, I mean, look, at this point, clearly when you watch Solo, I'm not going to give anything away, but clearly they have a plan, potential plan for future movies. I don't think you can do those future movies now. I really don't. Not with an $83 million opening. Now, Disney and Lucasfilm may look at that and say, okay, but people who are watching the movie seem to like it. So we think if we do another one, more will come than the first time. Okay, maybe you could look at it that way, but that's dubious. And it's something you'd have to think about pretty hard, because I think they really got to, if they did have a plan to do a sequel, I don't know that we can see that plan actually come to fruition anymore. Chris Scorpio writes, Star Wars is the new DCU. Each movie makes less. Well, no, that's only, here's the big difference between that and the DCU. I'm seeing some people trying to make this comparison. Here's why it's a ridiculous comparison. You're starting with a movie that became the third biggest film of all time. When that's your starting point, of course, your next one's going to be less. The next one's going to be less. And by the way, they don't all make less. So you had The Force Awakens came out, and it made like third biggest box office film of all time. The next one is an anthology movie. You know it's going to make a lot less, and it still crossed $1 billion. So you got Rogue One. Then The Last Jedi came out, made more money than the previous film, made $1.3 billion, number one box office film of 2017. So it makes more money. Now Solo comes out. Some people are trying to compare this to like the Justice League situation. And as I mentioned on the John Campea show earlier today, the big difference is Justice League was supposed to be your biggest movie. Justice League was supposed to be your crown jewel. Justice League was the movie that everything was building up towards, and without question and beyond any shadow of a doubt, it should have been the number one box office movie of your franchise. Instead, it made the least amount of money out of all their films. Solo is a completely different thing. Like, a lot of people like myself had been saying for over a year, this movie is not going to make $1 billion. This is not the pinnacle of the Star Wars empire. It is not one of the episodic films. It's a film that nobody asked for, and it's a character that everybody loves, but they loved it because of Harrison Ford. Now Harrison Ford isn't there. A lot of people were bailing on the film. You had The Last Jedi, which a lot of people didn't, blah, 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 blah. So if you're trying to compare the Justice League situation to the Han Solo situation, it's really a horrible comparison. It's a terrible thing to try to compare. And trying to compare the DCEU to Star Wars is also ridiculous because, first of all, you had one movie that started off as the third biggest film of all time. Justice League or the DCEU never had that. The next one went Rogue One. Next one went The Last Jedi. Next one went Solo. So it's been going up and down. But none of that mitigates that the opening weekend result of Solo is a bad thing. None of that mitigates that. It's a horrible situation for it to be in. In some ways, Star Wars has become the new DCEU in the sense that you're having a bunch of people really, really hate on it and a bunch of people really, really needing to defend it. And it's becoming divisive amongst fans. And you're getting that same comic book movie toxicity, the comic book movie fandom toxicity between the DC and the Marvel corporate fanboys is now coming over into Star Wars as well. And that's unfortunate. So in that way, I can see the equation. But otherwise, the comparison makes no sense whatsoever. Rodney Hurd writes, which sword would you have as your weapon of choice? The Sword of Grayskull, the Sword of Omens, or the Atlantean sword from Conan? I think I'd go Sword of Omens. I think Sword of Omens is the one I would go for. That's just always been the cooler one. It looks cooler too. I think it's the cooler looking sword, personally. DC Patience writes, regarding whether Solo is necessary, what about The Post, Shape of Water, and Academy-nominated films? It's about the story the writers want to tell, right? Yeah, no film is necessary. I mean, yeah, absolutely right. That's exactly what I'm saying. The Post wasn't necessary. The Shape of Water was not necessary. Any film has never been necessary. That's the thing. Like, I'm with most people when we say, hey, nobody asked for a Solo movie. But when people say, a Solo movie wasn't necessary, well, okay, but no film ever in history has been necessary. So let's be really clear about that. It's all about what stories the filmmakers want to tell. And then they tell their stories. None of them are necessary, but they tell their stories. And then we decide if we want to hear those stories. It's just that simple. Tacky75 writes, enjoyed Solo. Chewbacca is so powerful and funny. It was this Chewbacca we've always wanted. Now, I've said, Solo isn't in my top 5 favorite Star Wars movies. It's, I think, my number 6 favorite Star Wars movie. But Chewbacca has never been better. This was the best Chewbacca we've ever seen in any Star Wars movie ever. Period. Stop. Bar none. End of discussion. It is, the way I kind of described it is, when a lot of us came out of seeing Avengers for the first time, what a lot of us said was, that's the Hulk we've all been waiting for. And I feel like with Solo, it's the Chewbacca we've always wanted. And yeah, Chewbacca was better in this film than he's been in this. He was really one of the big highlights of the film. And his relationship with Han were really big, big things. Born Bond Bauer writes, I like that name. To me, Chris Pratt has charisma, but not a good actor. Jurassic World and Guardians of the Galaxy would have done well without him. Passengers was a bomb, and he didn't help Magnificent Seven. Well, Passengers had nothing to do with him. I mean, that he played. I'm going to disagree with you about Guardians of the Galaxy. He's a perfect Star-Lord. He is not on the same level, but what he did, Kevin Feige said, what no other actor has brought and infused their personality into their character as well as Chris Pratt has done in the vein of Robert Downey Jr. to Iron Man. Now, I'm not saying it's on the same level as Robert Downey Jr. to Iron Man, but what Chris Pratt did with Star-Lord, he took this character, he infused the right amount of his own charisma and personality into the character and made it great. So, hey, Jurassic World, I think Chris Pratt did a very good job with Jurassic World, but you could have exchanged him with another good actor too, and it would have been just the same. Passengers also had one of the biggest female movie stars in the world, Jennifer Lawrence, in it. It just didn't do well because it didn't look interesting. It didn't look like a good movie. Magnificent Seven, well, that was a huge ensemble piece, so you can't blame it on him any more than you can blame it on Denzel Washington. And I actually thought Magnificent Seven was pretty good, to be honest with you. But when Guardians of the Galaxy, very few people, I think, could have stepped in there and done the job that Chris Pratt did with Star-Lord. I think he was very uniquely qualified to play that Star-Lord, especially with the infusion of his personality into the character. Does that mean nobody else on Earth could have played it? Obviously, somebody else could have, yes. But I thought he was magnificent as Peter Quill. I think he's done a great job as Peter Quill. I really do. Canada Rocks writes, Selena is a 1997 J-Lo film about real-life singer Selena. Oh, that. I thought you were talking about when you said Selena and Jennifer, I thought you meant like Selena Gomez with Jennifer Lopez. It's like, I don't know, like Do the two of them have a single out together? Did they just do a musical video together? my head was going off in completely the wrong direction. The movie Selena. Yes, I did see the movie Selena. I cannot remember a lot about it because I don't think I've seen it since it came out, to be honest with you. Let me just run my head. Now, if I remember right, as I'm waiting for the page to load, Edward James Olmos was in it too, if I remember it right. Hold a second. It's just, why is it taking so long to load? IMDb. There we go. Directed by Gregory Nava, yeah. Jennifer Lopez. And yeah, Edward. Okay, so it is the one with Edward James. Yeah. If I remember correctly, I enjoyed it. Yes, I believe I enjoyed it. But again, I can't speak authoritatively to it because it has been so long since I've seen it, to be honest with you. Third Man 3 writes, do you think Lucasfilm would benefit from having someone else come in and oversee the creative? I think she is out of touch with fans. Kevin Feige, people say Filoni, but he has never done live action. Yeah, no, I still firmly am against the idea of Dave Filoni. What the hell? Seriously? A guy who's done a couple of animated shows, you want to put him in charge of live action films? Are you insane? Are you insane? Like, to me, that's ridiculous. I don't know. Again, it's hard to argue with results. She put out 3 films in a row that all crossed the $1 billion mark. Something Kevin Feige has never done. 3 films, $3 billion films. But now solo. So I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see. I think it's also a matter of, and look, it's much like the DCU to me. I like all the DCU films, but there are problems in there. I like all the new Star Wars films. I particularly love The Force Awakens and Rogue One. I love those films. But, Last Jedi had issues. Some people had more issues than others. Even I'm a defender of the movie. I like the movie a lot, but I have issues with The Last Jedi as well. I think Solo's a really good movie. I think Solo's a really good, fun summer adventure movie. So, yeah, no, I do not believe the issue is Kathleen Kennedy. I really don't. However, I've already talked a little bit earlier in this video about my concerns that I do have with Kathleen Kennedy, and those are different things that need to be addressed. Tacky75 writes, why is Star Wars so unpopular in China? It's not that unpopular. It's just not that popular. I mean, it's just never caught on. I mean, different cultures embrace and love different things. And the Chinese culture has just never really embraced and loved Star Wars all that much. So, no, I don't live in China. I'm not Chinese, so I really can't authoritatively address that. Dave Aikens writes, we were separated at birth. Yes, I think Insomnia is criminally underrated. Yes, I love Blade 2. And yes, I definitely want to see Age of Apocalypse on screen. Then you're right, Dave. We are separated at birth. Insomnia, for those of you who don't know, is, I believe, the best film Christopher Nolan's ever done. I believe it is the best film Christopher Nolan's ever done. And it is clearly the most underrated because a lot of people don't even know what Insomnia is. Insomnia is brilliant filmmaking. I love that movie so much. So if you've not checked it out, you should. Blade 2, I think, is the best of the Blade movies. And yes, not that X-Men Apocalypse movie they just did, but the Age of Apocalypse. One of my favorite storylines in comic book history, would make a great movie if you could figure out a way to do it. It would be tough, though, to do it. Free One Up writes, Blade Runner 2049 is one of my favorite movies of all time. Do you think there will ever be a third Blade Runner movie? I heard rumors that it might happen. I doubt it. Let me just look up something here. So I'm just pulling up the box office number for Blade Runner 2049 because I want to make sure I get the numbers right. Blade Runner 2049 worldwide box office, $259 million. It had an opening weekend of $32 million. So on a budget of $150 million, and on a budget of $150 million, this film needed to come in around $400 million to break even. It fell well short. It lost them a lot of money, despite the fact that they made a pretty damn good movie. So I can't see anybody greenlighting another one. I just, maybe as a Netflix movie, a much more smaller budget, cheaper made one, maybe some directed to home video, straight to DVD movie, maybe, but I can't see any executives greenlighting another Blade Runner film. Not with these types of box office numbers. Like, It made $92 million domestically in total. It made $32.7 million on its opening weekend, and worldwide only made $259 million. You can't do a sequel on that. You just can't. And there was nothing to suggest that more people will go out to see a sequel. So it's a tough sell. And again, it's a shame because it's a good movie. I didn't love it, but I thought it was quite good. I liked it more than the original Blade Runner. But with those types of numbers, I just don't see how any executive's going to greenlight it when it lost them maybe $100 million. You can't lose $100 million, and I think they did on that film. DC Patience writes, my brother is a big Star Wars fan, refuses to see Solo because there's only one Han Solo. What can Disney do to get fans on board years from now? I mean, that is one of the big problems. Like, your brother is a great example. There are a lot of people I have spoken to that have tweeted me and all that stuff. It's just said they had never had any intention of seeing Solo because there is only one Han Solo, and that's Harrison Ford. Now, I disagree with that way of looking at things. And I think Alden Ehrenreich did a very good job. I mean, almost everybody who sees the movie agrees. Alden Ehrenreich did a very, very good job. Harrison Ford said he did a great job. He nailed it. But to a lot of fans out there, and this was one of the big things working against Solo from day one, was that there's a lot of people who are not interested in Han Solo if it's not Harrison Ford. And I think your brother is just a good example of a lot of people who felt the same way. And that's why, again, even before The Last Jedi came out, there was a lot of us saying, hey guys, don't get too excited about how big of a box office thing Solo is going to be, because nobody asked for this movie, and a lot of people are very hesitant about seeing something that's Han Solo that's not Harrison Ford. We've been saying that from the beginning. Everybody's been saying it. It hasn't just been me, it's been everybody. And yeah, Dee, you're right. I mean, what can they do to get more people on board? Well, it's difficult to say. Like Obi-Wan, you've got an out because Ewan McGregor's already played the role. So you're safe there. That's fine. Boba Fett, fine. It's the dude in the mask. No one's going to care. So that's fine too. But I don't know. I don't know that they would face this problem again, because I don't think they're going to do a young Princess Leia movie. I don't think they're going to do a young Luke Skywalker movie, because, we've already had those. So I don't know that they have to answer that question, but it has been one of the big problems. Absolutely. Kane Turin writes, sack Kennedy as she could have done a better job. Keep her as a producer. Make Filoni creative director. He is trained by Lucas and more creative. Who cares? George Lucas made the prequels. I have no desire to see anybody trained by George Lucas. And a guy who has never made a live action film as creative director? No. I mean, that's fine if that's what you want to see, and that's great. If you want to see that, that's great. In my opinion, please, a guy who's never made a live action film that's made, first of all, Rebels, only half of Rebels was all that good. I don't even like the Clone Wars series at all, but I know a lot of you guys do, and that's great. Just because you make, a half-hour animated show, no, do not put Dave Filoni. And I like Dave Filoni. I have met with Dave Filoni. I've spoken with Dave Filoni. I'm a fan of Dave Filoni. No, you do not make him the creative director of Star Wars. I just find the idea ridiculous. You're not ridiculous. If you like that idea, that's great. Wonderful for you. But for me, that's a ludicrous idea. Absolutely ludicrous idea. Let's see. Sorry, I got to back up again. Oh, gosh. Hold a second. A lot more came in. Okay, here we go. Old Flicks Joe writes, not surprised about Solo box office performance this weekend, but who would have thought Deadpool 2 would have a bigger opening than Solo? I'm not surprised. I'm not that surprised. I really did think Deadpool 2 was going to get over 150 million. See, that's the difference. I really did think Deadpool 2 was going to get over 150 million. I did not think Solo would. So, yeah, I'm not surprised by that in the least. Not at all. Now, if you had asked us all 5 years ago, that would have been different. Like 5 years ago, before Deadpool 1 ever came out and all this other kind of stuff, I said, hey, 5 years from now, like a Deadpool 2 is going to come out and a Star Wars movie called Solo's coming out. I would go, well, really? Solo? Why are we doing that? But, oh yeah, clearly Solo will make more money than Deadpool. I wouldn't have said that this year This year, I would have predicted Deadpool 2 makes more money than Solo, but not 5 years ago. 5 years ago, that would have been inconceivable to me. Let's see. Pumped Up Kick 29 writes, "Hey John, love the show. Hope you're wrong about my hometown team. Go Knights, go." Hey, I'm cheering for the Knights. That's like my home away from home in the United States. Obviously, home for me is Ontario, Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. In the US, my home is Los Angeles, but my home away from home in the States is Las Vegas, and I'm definitely going to be cheering for them as well. I just think Ovechkin's and that offense is just too good, man. Boy Chow Sang writes, "This may be random, but just want to say that even though we may have opposite political views, I think you help keep the world in order. God bless you, John." Well, thank you so much, Boy Chow Sang. I appreciate that very much. And hey, we're not supposed to agree on everything. Where's the fun in agreeing on everything? It's all about how do we disagree. That's the question, how we do. So I appreciate that, boy, very, very much. All right. I'm just going to rifle through just a couple more very, very quickly, and then we're going to wrap things up. Anybody who sent in a video or a question that did not get answered, don't worry, it will be included on the next companion video. Set Tech 13 writes, "Star Wars needs somebody like a Kevin Feige to plan out the long term of Star Wars. Seems to me even the story for the current trilogy was not planned out in advance." Yeah, it feels that way a little bit. I'll agree with that criticism. Yeah, whether it's Kennedy or whether it's J.J. Abrams or whether it's, Lawrence Kasdan or whether it's anybody, they should have planned out the 3 trilogies. I understand wanting to give some anonymity to incoming directors, but you shouldn't do that with franchises. You shouldn't do that with franchises. Like, everybody always wants to scream, "Give the directors complete, total creative control." And I'm like, that's not reality. That's not good for franchises at all. You give them a certain amount of autonomy and you give them a certain amount of leeway to work whatever it is they want to work into it. Yes, absolutely. But they've got to stay within the framework and a structure of a story direction that you want to go that should be coming from the producers. It's got to be a team effort. And it can't just be all the director. Because then you start getting a mess of things, which is part of the reason why Warner Brothers is in a little bit of a conundrum with the DCU. They've given their individual directors too much leeway to make whatever stories they want to make. So yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. I think they just need to have a firmer hand laying out, this is the direction these movies are going. Now bring in directors who can best fulfill the potential of those movies while staying in line with the overall vision and direction. That's what Kevin Feige does with the MCU. That is probably what somebody needs to do with Star Wars. I'll agree with you on that. Today is the 20th. Ben Rayner writes, "John, today is the 20th. That's right, today is the 28th. The 2 Lucifer episodes, for some reason I had in my head today was the 26th. Today is the 28th. The 2 Lucifer episodes are tonight. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to be watching those. Okay, last question I'm going to take today, guys, and I've run out of time. Matt, and my voice is starting to go on me. Matt Thornton writes, "I recently met John DiMaggio at London Comic-Con and asked him about Matt Groening's new Netflix show. He said, and I quote, 'It's basically if The Simpsons fuck Game of Thrones.'" Yeah, I've heard, I forgot the name of it. That made it all over the news rounds the other day that Matt Groening, the guy behind The Simpsons, has signed on for a new show. He's got a new show coming. I don't know any of the details about it, but if it's coming from him, I like Futurama quite a bit, then I'm going to be interested in seeing it. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Once again, if you'd sent in a live question, don't worry. I'm going to take that, add it to the companion video list. It will be in the next companion video that should be coming up tomorrow morning. I've said that about 3 times now, that tomorrow morning is coming, then 5 other things come up and I don't get around to it. But tomorrow morning, the new companion video is going to be up. So any of you guys who sent in questions now, it will be on the companion video in the morning. That will do it for me for today, guys. Thank you much for joining me. I hope you had a wonderful, fabulous Memorial Day weekend. A special shout out and thank you to men and women in service on every country around the world. Your sacrifice, your dedication, the things you give of yourself is appreciated by those of us who get to live in freedom and safety and security because of your devotion to your countries. Thank you so much, and may you be honored today, particularly here on Memorial Day in the United States of America, and to all my friends and family up in Canada as well. So thank you again for your devotion and your sacrifice. That'll do it for us for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until our next video, bye-bye.